Barack Obama is in the news again because he was on Michelle Obama's podcast and he said that he thinks all boys need, more than their fathers, as role models. He said that he thinks that all boys need a gay role model because that's what he had growing up. Now, am I surprised he said that? No, because he is America's first gay president, and that has been editorialized. But I want to challenge Barack Obama. Since you are the Democrats' favorite black president, and you say you're from the hood, I challenge you to go to the most dangerous projects, where you know there are not many fathers because they were locked up under Reagan, Clinton, and Biden, and say some shit like that. I double dare you.
Now, y'all know I ain't political. I ain't with all the politics stuff. I never was Team Obama. I'm definitely not Team Trump. I wasn't Team Biden, and I definitely wasn't Team Kamala Harris and none of that stuff. I ain't no politician. You know, I'm not one of them Christians who promotes politics over here. You know what I mean? I think they all are of the devil. You see what I'm saying? But I got something to say about this whole conversation around Barack Obama and what he said on his wife podcast. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of, talking, points out there that I believe is very disingenuous. Y'all don't want to miss this.
You're now tuned into Gutta and Saved.
I'm Mr. Gas now. That's Gutta and Saved. I'm doing God's work now. I found my purpose. Okay, I'm reloaded.
Before we hop into today's show, man, y'all already know I'm going to need y'all to smash up the like button to push this out to the algorithm. And so, I can connect with more people like yourself. You see what I'm saying? Also, at the end of the broadcast, you're going to want to check out the hottest merch store out there, gasmerch.com, which is going to be pinned down in the description area. All you got to do is click on the link, get the dopest, hottest t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, and all that in our store. Obama was on his wife's podcast, right? And there's a small clip circulating around social media, and when I was scrolling on TikTok, everybody and their mom was doing reaction videos to that small clip. And and the clip pretty much saying, Obama was saying that young boys need some type of gay role model in their life. Now, that's what people was insinuating that it said. Now, I ain't gonna lie. After hearing a lot of these people reaction videos and all that stuff, I was, getting ready to tap into that because I believe that there is an agenda. There's a push of, all this hypersexual rainbow stuff going on, in the community. And I believe that they are hyper fixated on the black community, but that's another topic for another day. So, y'all know, I started doing my hood journalist thing, so I went searching for the actual clip because I love context. I love bringing y'all the truth. Ain't too many of us, context, media people out there anymore. I'm one of the very few left. So, most of the reaction videos that people was doing in regards to this whole Obama, that clip and everything, they were saying that Obama was pushing the rainbow agenda, and he was pushing this narrative on, continue to perpetuate this narrative on the black community. Now, after me doing my hood journalist thing, I believe that they are being disingenuous. Now, let me play the clip for you real quick.
A bunch of men who can be sort of elders to boys. And so they're not just looking at one particular role model, but many. And one of the things when Michelle and I first started dating and I'd go over to your guys' house, one of the things I loved was just, seeing all your uncles and your cousins. And there were a bunch of different kinds of men. There were men that were kind of soft-spoken, and then there were men that were loud, and there were men who were engineers, and then there were men who were police officers, or they drove a jitney cab, right? And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
One dad.
One dad. No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this. Yeah. Right. So that I think is creating that community. I know it's corny, but that's what they need.
And we talk a lot about what we had.
Now, that's just a small clip of that. All you gotta do is go back and listen to the video. And if my honest opinion, the actual conversation was dope. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to say, Obama haven't said any suspect stuff in the past or have done any suspect in the past, because it's obvious that he did. But in this particular video, that's not what I'm getting from him on this particular podcast with his wife. I'm not getting a push for, a lot of these, rainbow stuff that's pushing. Now, people might say, oh, well, why he had to use, his gay professor as an example. Man, listen, it's if you ever been in an interview type of setting, sometimes people just shoot off the first thing that comes to their mind. That's not to say that he's trying to push something. I'm not saying that he is. I'm not saying that he's not. I don't know. So here's the thing, right? Y'all gotta stop running off 30-second clips when you see something on social media. You see what I'm saying? Y'all gotta stop doing that. I'm gonna be honest. I've noticed that we live in this, especially as Christian content creators. I'm noticing that we see little clips and then we run with it and then we build this whole narrative, and oftentimes the narrative is not even correct. Like I said, I went back and I watched a good 20 minutes of the video leading up to that particular part. And when you get the full context of what he was saying right there, you will clearly understand that he wasn't saying something sideways. The whole conversation was centered around fatherhood, manhood, and friendships, and how men, boys should have, a wider range of men who influence them. Now, watch this. We kind of do directly and directly. Real rap. We do indirectly and, directly. Now, again, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. But let me say this real quick. I am not an Obama fan. I'm not. I didn't vote for him. I don't advocate for any of his politics or nothing like that. But what he is saying is young dudes need more than just one male figure to look up to. Now, watch this, like I just said, right? If you're from the hood, right, you know exactly what he's saying. Now, watch this. A lot of us picked up on habits, whether we had a dad in our life or some type of male figure in our life or some type of anybody in the hood. You see what I'm saying? That we learned from. You see what I'm saying? We picked up habits from our uncles, cousins, OGs, people on from around the way on the block. We did. Some of us learned our hustling tactics. Some of us learned how to, move, shake, make some things move and shake. Y'all know sell drugs from our uncles. You see what I'm saying? Some of us learn how to chase women and, pick up, game and holler at women from our cousins. A lot of us learn to be womanizers from our cousins. I know I did. I watched my cousins be all type of women. You see what I'm saying? We watched the OGs do certain things in the hood. Some of the old heads gave us game, just to be, giving us game. A lot of y'all, talk about this whole snitching stuff. That's a hood, you can't snitch. You can't, a lot, we pick up stuff, whether it's good and bad, from multiple examples that we grew up around. And it shaped our mindset, whether it was good or bad. So that's why I say, directly and indirectly, we was influenced by all type of men. You see what I'm saying? Now, when Obama talked about his gay professor, right? Come on, y'all know what he was saying, man. He was pretty much saying, you ain't gotta be gay. You know what I mean? That's and he ain't talking about you have to force, a gay man into your son's or daughter's life. He ain't. I didn't pick up that he was saying that, and I'm very good at discernment. I don't think that's what he was. He wasn't saying nothing like that, in my honest opinion. He was saying it's good to have different people in your life that, when different challenges come, different people in your life will be able to know how to navigate you through it. You know what I mean? Certain things. I didn't have a male figure in my life that taught me finances. I got around different people, different cultures. A Jewish man taught me finances. You see what I'm saying? I was raised in Philly. You see what I'm saying? There was certain things that I learned in the hood that those dudes, older men that was around me, taught me certain things. You see what I'm saying? So watch this, right? Just to go back to Obama talking about his professor, right? Some of y'all might have a child that might end up being gay or all the other stuff that they use, non-binary and all that. I don't think he was saying that you have to go out and intentionally make friends of all them type of, sexualities or behaviors. What he was saying is, okay, it's good to know people that's familiar with that type of stuff, so that let's say if you do have a kid that might, identify as something like that, you might have, you can point your kid in that direction to get understanding, so that your kid might not feel alone. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that. I want to say that I'm not saying I agree with that mindset, but I understand it. From a spiritual aspect, I wouldn't do that. From my identity in Christ, I wouldn't do that. You see what I'm saying? But from a worldly perspective, I understand. It's plain. To me, that's plain to understand. But anyway, listen, man. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, man. In my honest opinion, a lot of what they was talking about in that particular podcast, Obama, his brother-in-law, Craig, and his wife, Michelle, in my honest opinion, it was a dope conversation. Craig and Obama was talking about manhood, fatherhood, and friendships, as it pertains to men and all that stuff. And I believe it was a dope conversation. I think y'all should go back and listen to it. You see what I'm saying? The conversation, I believe it should have been had. Real rap. But listen, as Christian content creators, we got to do better. Because a lot of y'all Christian content creators spent a narrative where you can if all you have to do is go back and, look at the video in context, and you will see that, okay, he wasn't going down with people with that way people say he was going. It wasn't. I looked at it, and y'all know I will call it out if I believed he was. And y'all almost had me because I was orchestrating, putting together a podcast to come at him on that. And then I said, something came in my spirit. I ain't gonna say something. I believe the Lord put in my spirit. Go back and watch that. And I went back and I watched a great deal of that part leading up to that. And I'm like, oh yeah, he wasn't. People are disingenuous, and they pushing a false narrative on that. You know what I mean? Now, just because y'all disagree with Obama's politics, just like I do, that doesn't mean we got to spread lies on him. That don't mean we got to throw dirt on his name intentionally. You see what I'm saying? We can be honest, even if we disagree with his politics. You know what I mean? We can be honest about people. The scripture says we should not be bearing false witness. I'm not going to bear false witness about somebody just because I disagree with their politics or I may disagree with certain things that they do. I'm not going to spread any lies about them. You know what I mean? We could take the time and just, go get context, and then we don't like when people take the scripture out of context, so we shouldn't be taking them out of context. But anyway, man, I'm done, man. Let me know what y'all think about this. You know what I mean? Let me down in the comment section. Smash the like button on the way out, and also check out our merch store, gasmerch.com. You already know my slogan. It's not about how much Bible you know. It's about how much Bible you willing to obey, and if God willing, I'll holler at you on the flip. Vintage doesn't mean we're out of style. It means our value stood the test of time. As for the saints of the land, they are the excellent ones in whom is all God's delight. Vintage, Saint, Lucido, we are the ones who carry the will. Represent the movement at gasmerch.com.